Folks, hello and welcome to Tavern Chat. I'm your host, Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR. So, I don't know, over the last week or so, my PMs, my conversations online have been about the BrOSR. Now, honestly, I didn't know much about the BrOSR. I did know that it kind of had a reputation of being my way of the highway, that we are the only true way of gaming. Certainly has come out in the circles I'm in. So I was like, finally, all right, screw it. I'm gonna do a little research and ask Chat GPTs, which isn't all Chat GPT, but if there's inaccuracies, we're gonna say that's where it's at. But we're also gonna look at Jeffro's blog and his explanation as to what the BrOSR is. But the BrOSR, Bro Old School Revival, refers to a subset of the old school Renaissance OSR community. Okay, fair enough. The OSR is known for embracing and reviving the gameplay style of early Dungeons and Dragons editions, prioritizing player agency, open world exploration, and minimal reliance on modern mechanics. The BrOSR, however, pushes this philosophy further with a few distinct features and often controversial practices. Now, by the way, um, BrOSR obviously comes from Braunstein, which is another one of these issues because now the Braunstein people are claiming that their Braunstein is being co-opted by BrOSR, and neither side seems to really like each other. I'll probably go over Braunstein at some other point, another video. So, Jeffro Gaxian timekeeping. And I do love it when uh, folks in the hobby co-op things that Gary did and or Janelle did, and they turn it into their own. Well, I'm gonna take gonna be named after me. I don't know Jeffro, but in any case, Jeffro Gaxian timekeeping. Maybe he's not the one that coined the phrase. I suspect he is though. This is one of the key principles where real world time matches game time. For example, if a day passes in the real world, it also passes in game time, even if no game session occurs. This creates a dynamic and persistent game world that evolves continuously, forcing players to consider the consequences of their actions between sessions. But that also requires you to resolve a session, right? You can't end the session in media res, right? You can't end it in the middle of combat or in the middle of a dungeon. You got to stop it because your party's not going to hang out in the dungeon for 2 weeks in between sessions. So you got to bring them out. I'm just making observations. Maybe there's a way to account for that. I don't know. Patron play in the BrOSR, I think it's I guess BrOSR. Major factions or powers in the game, such as ruling kingdoms or powerful guilds, are controlled by players rather than the game master. This encourages strategic conflict and resource management on a larger scale, with players shaping world politics and events outside regular sessions, which is fine if that's the type of game you want to play. It actually sounds a bit more like diplomacy. I haven't played that since college, but yes. Controversial stance. The BrOSR has gained a reputation for being rigid, and I have heard that for sure, in its belief that their way of playing is the true or correct way to play RPGs, leading to criticisms of gatekeeping and one true wayism within the community. We've already heard enough about gatekeeping in the OSR, right? And there is some truth to there is no such thing as bad, wrong fun. If you're having fun, keep going at it. Might not be what I would consider fun, might not be my game, might be not what I want to play, but have at it. But they're saying that this again, ChatGPT, this stance has made it polarizing even within the OSR movement. Again, I don't know anybody that runs a BrOSR campaign. plays with that style, but I've seen discussions about it, and yes, it is polarizing. But there's a certain amount, just like religion is seeping into politics, where politics itself is becoming a religious endeavor to some extent. It's sneaking into our hobbies too, and I suspect it's kind of because real world religion, what do you call it, is taking less importance, and we have as humans, we like to have something that's got that religious authority, and whether we put it to politics or gaming, it's going to happen. And I think that's part of why we're seeing that. Overall, Bro SR players believe their approach leads to deeper, more immersive campaigns, but it does have its detractors who find the methods overly prescriptive and exclusionary. So then I was like, well, where does the term BrOSR come from? The term BrOSR stands for Bro Old School Revival. Whatever. It doesn't stand for bro, it stands for Braunstein. Which is why we're having issues with the small Braunstein community. And I don't know. The OSR, nobody owns Braunstein, and certainly no calling your community BrOSR isn't co-opting it. And even saying that you run a game in a Braunstein manner when you really mean you're running it in a BrOSR manner or whatever, who cares? We have people that were calling their games O5R because they were trying, or look at DTRPG. Is it technically OSR? To some eyes, yes. To some eyes, no. Shadow Dark, is it technically OSR? To some eyes, yes. To some eyes, no. This is such a nebulous community to be a part of. I don't think that we can do strict definitions on any of this stuff. The bro prefix in BrOSR reflects a specific, sometimes controversial subset of the OSR community. It is associated with a group of players who are more rigid in their adherence to certain principles of old school gaming, such as real-time in-game timekeeping, Jeffro timekeeping, and patron play. By the way, Shadow Dark does the same thing, but in smaller increments. It does it with 1 hour, one or the other. Now, obviously, Braunstein came first, but real time as impetus to your campaign certainly has precedence. This group claims to be playing games the correct or true old school way. All right. Now, this is from Jeffro's site. I thought we'd be a little even-handed here. The BrOSR is real D&D. Now, it's real D&D as it is real D&D, as all D&D is real, or this is real D&D, and all of the D&D are but shadows. I don't know. I suspect the meaning is all of the D&D is but shadows. I could be wrong. I doubt it. It is AD&D played as intended. I don't know, because Gary has gone off and said that he often didn't follow the rules that he himself wrote. So how do we know how it was intended to be played? It is successful fantasy campaigns that just won't quit. Well, you can have that playing other ways. Doesn't just require this. It is a fundamentally different type of play that is distinct from conventional approaches to role playing that have dominated the hobby over the past 40 years. Okay. I will accept that. Now, let me see if I can find. So Jeffro goes on. He goes, it's one-to-one timekeeping, aka Jeffro Gaxian timekeeping. All right, we've already gone over that. And obviously, Jeffro has named it after himself. If you ever thought it was dumb that adventurers go from battling rats and sewers to assassinating demigods in a span of a couple of weeks, and contemporary games, rest easy, Gygax never intended the game to work that way. It never worked that way when I was younger, but we didn't need to play it Jeffro's way either. Faction play, aka Chansonian patrons. You have noticed that high-level characters don't really do much except give out quests and missions. The BrOSR hands these roles over to players that don't necessarily even show up to game sessions. What is merely scenery in most other games turns to a constantly developing backdrop that influences player character activities in countless ways, which is fine. You need a huge group to do this effectively. But 1 to 10 scaling, aka chainmail scale battles. Okay. Because the rules derive from the medieval miniatures game, trivial to resolve them without coming up with variant systems. If you like chainmail, many of us don't, and yeah, chainmail was not really part of AD&D. Again, not saying that this doesn't work, but to claim this is the one true way is kind of like everybody else is heretics, right? An always on campaign made up of multiple interacting Brownsteins. BrOSR campaigns create a framework that allows many different environments and situations to develop independently while all influence each other in surprising ways. Multiple dungeon masters find it trivial to coordinate their efforts, and elite level patron players exercise many powers that are normally restricted to the DM. This approach in plain D&D answers countless problems that have vexed lesser tables. Alignment finally makes sense. Okay, well, I'm going to have to do a video on D&D's alignment system and Palladium's alignment system. Palladium's alignment system makes more sense. The Munster Manual, the original Munster Manual, finally makes sense. Only BrOSR has the objectively correct answer for what to do when a player encounters 300 orcs. Aside from run, okay. How Dungeon Masters created and ran campaigns without piles of adventure modules and supplementary material is finally revealed. We were doing that back in the late 70s, early 80s. This system generates so much adventure and conflict, there's no longer any need for adventure modules. The random tables in the back of the DMG are more than sufficient for sustaining a campaign, practically forever. Okay. The Dungeon Master no longer needs to make up any stories. All he has to do is resolve the many conflicts that arise between factions consistently and fairly according to the rules. Further, a campaign with a culture based on rules as written allows for individual patrons and characters to operate independently while still maintaining campaign cohesion. You can start playing the Legendary Domain game starting with your first session. D&D has never made any more sense than right now. Okay, but that's the game that you're looking to play. And if you are, more power to it. But I think for most, or majority, even of OSR players, that's not what they're looking for. I don't think. But it doesn't make BrOSR Braunstein. But obviously, there's a Braunstein influence. Again, I'm going to do an episode on Braunstein, but this one's gone on long enough. Folks, if you like what you see, subscribe, comment, share. Other than that, be safe, be well. God bless. Roll those dice, roll them well. I'll be back again tomorrow with another video, maybe in this series. Maybe I'll do Braunstein. And we'll look at what the difference of Braunstein is from this BrOSR. Okay, bro? Laters.